Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Cireon again from Clan Quest, and this is the first video in a short series of videos about Dungeoneering. And as you can see, this time I'm standing outside of a dungeon because we're gonna talk about the meta strategy of Dungeoneering, if we want to call it that way. So we're basically going to look a bit more in how to do your floors, how to maximize your experience over the different floors. So I'm standing here at Demonheim. I moved upstairs just because some people were chatting down below, and it's nice and quiet here. So let me open a new party. We can create one. And here we can select a floor and a complexity. And we have the progress description down here. So let's take a look at the progress first. So it says current progress and previous progress. And these numbers here actually count towards your experience. So the higher the numbers, the more experience you will get from completing a floor. So it is always good to keep these numbers as high as possible. So what do these numbers actually mean? So the current progress is the amount of floors you have currently completed. So if I go to my floor overview, you can see I actually finished 5 floors in total. That will be those with the check marks. And that's the current progress. So as you complete a floor, and as you complete a floor, there will be a check mark for that floor. And you can do all the floors that you've currently unlocked. And once you have unlocked all the floors, you can start over by using the reset button. So why would you ever do that? Well, if you do a floor that you already ticked off before, then it will first look for another floor in the same theme. So you can see these are the abandoned floors. The cold are down here. Warped is the most bottom ones. The top ones are frozen, and so on. So if you finish a floor, it first tries to check off that floor. And if it can't do that, it will check off a random other floor from the same type. And that influences your experience. So it's always the best to do floors that you haven't ticked off yet. But the effect is not that big. So you can also do like auto warp floors if you already have a few check marks. It doesn't really matter that much, especially in groups. It can be better to just look for the theme rather than for an exact floor. So once you ticked off all the floors in a certain theme, it can't check off another floor, and you will hardly get any experience for finishing that floor. So you always want to try to go for floors you haven't checked off yet, or alternatively, floors in the same theme you have not completely filled up yet. So that is something important to keep in mind. So if you have filled all your floors up with check marks, you want to reset, because it doesn't really help getting XP for floors that you haven't or have already finished. So that is where the reset button comes in. When you reset, it will reset all your floors to the current state, and it will move your current progress to the previous progress. So when I hit the reset button the last time, I apparently had 54 floors completed. And both of these are taken into account. I think it takes the average of the two. So you want to make sure that both of them are as high as possible. So you want to only reset once you have pretty much all your floors finished. Alright, so once you level up a bit and get a higher Dungeoneering level, you'll see that the lower floors don't give as much XP as the higher floors. So the best experience you get from the occult and the warped floors, and the frozen floors, even at full complexity, don't really give you a lot of experience. This is where the floor strategy comes in. Once you're like level 80 or so, what is on average the best experience is for floors 1 to 30 to do really small complexity 1 floors. And we'll go over those in a bit, but basically by choosing complexity 1, you simplify the floor. So I can show you that. Usually you can play on complexity 6 and it will involve all the different skills, and it will have the most different kind of puzzles. The monsters will be a bit more complicated. So yeah, that gives the most experience, but it also takes the most time to finish them. And if you go to complexity 1, there will only be combat. So there will be no puzzles at all. It will just be guardian doors, or just doors you don't have to kill enemies for, or keys. You do get a 50% experience penalty. So why would you do that instead of using the complexity 6? Well, as I said, in floors 1 to 30, there is really not a lot of experience to be gained. But you also don't want to just do floors 31 and upwards, because that means your progress counter doesn't get nearly as high. So the best strategy that for Dungeoneering is for floors 1 to 30 to do complexity 1 small floors. And this is actually a concept we call rushing. We just try to get these floors done as quickly as possible. We don't really care much about the experience we get from it. We care about this progress counter coming up. So it makes the most sense to do that rushing before doing all the higher level floors, because then you get more experience out of your floors. So in general, it just works the best to work like from floor up 1 and then upwards. But of course, if you do group dungeons, that doesn't really work out. So rushing in general is best done on your own or in duos. In duos you can really make it even quicker, because sometimes there's 2 branches and you can like both pick one, and that way you almost can do your dungeons twice as quick. Going for 3, 4, or 5 persons doesn't really add much, so it's not recommended going in big groups. If you practice rushes a bit, you can do 1 floor in 1 to 2 minutes, depending on what kind of boss you get. Then you arrive at floor 31, and then you start doing floors more seriously. Like, the limit is a bit flexible. If you want to like rush all the way to a curl, that's possible. If you want to do start medium floors like a bit lower, that's possible. 30 is just a nice number that I usually keep as a guideline. So from there on, you just start doing serious dungeons, and usually you do solo medium dungeons, so that's on your own, and then medium-sized complexity 6. Or if you really want to go for more experience, the best experience comes from doing dungeons with 5 people, large size, and also complexity 6. And that gives you like a lot of experience for a single floor. You can do roughly a floor with 5 people in 20 minutes. Usually less if you are with some practiced people, and they can give up to 100k Dungeoneering experience, so you can see that goes quite quickly. Alright, so that's basically the Dungeoneering strategy you can follow. Just for floors 1 to 30, go as quickly to them as you can, and after that actually start doing things for real. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to quickly set up a floor 1 complexity 1 floor. And I'm going to show you how quickly you can actually go through these dungeons. Let me go downstairs here and dive into this dungeon here. So you see I can't even pick anything here. So I won't choose what boss I'm going to get, because it doesn't really matter. So you start here, and you start with a bunch of gear here. So if you still need to collect some gear for your binds, then you can start binding from this gear. So, especially in rushes, using the dungeon layout and finding which paths are the easiest to take is even more useful because it can really speed up these rushes. Like I said, if you're a bit practiced, you can do them all pretty much within 2 minutes, which means you only take like an hour or so to finish all the rushes up to floor 30, and after that you can switch to normal floors again. There we go, that's an ice warrior. So as you can see, it still has the key part to the dungeon, and you don't get any gate stone. So if you're unlucky, you might end up running around a lot, but in general, they can be quite linear. So here we actually have to run back to the floor door there. So this floor is gonna take a bit longer probably, because I'm a bit unlucky with having to run around. It's not unlikely that you have a completely linear floor. It's not that common either, but you can be lucky. As you can see, especially in these floors, it's important to remember where the key doors are, and because it's such a small dungeon, it's very possible to do so. So this will be a floor with only one guardian door. That actually speeds things up quite a bit, because guardian doors are usually the slowest. But as you can see, there was quite a lot of running around, so probably not even going to be able to do it in 3 minutes. Depends a bit on what boss we get. So yeah, again, it's important to skip the floors, skip the rooms that don't have guardian doors when it comes to killing the enemies in there, because really for these rushes you just want to get through these dungeons as quickly as possible. So I'm just gonna make 3 minutes here. That's pretty reasonable considering the running around. So yeah, that's how rushes work. That's how you can build up your progress, and that's how you can maximize the experience per floor. So I hope this was helpful for you. There's probably a couple of more things I can talk about. So I'm sure I'll be back in another video, and hopefully you'll join me then. So thanks for watching.